Welcome to the squad. He's Icewater. I'm Puma. The squad is sponsored by Rayon Cognac. Join the movement. Contact Rayon Cognac at www.rayoncognac.com. We're going to be talking about some sports. Of course, we're going to be talking about March Madness, the squad's March Madness challenge, and who is in the lead. You'll see that in our little ticker on the bottom. We're going to be talking about some NFL news, also some NBA and WNBA news, and we'll give our last second shots. March Madness, man, it's been a wonderful ride so far. We're down 2 rounds. And here's the interesting part. We talked about the mid-majors and all the different conferences that were represented in the tournament. And you have the top five that are still holding on. You got the Big Ten, who has 6 teams in. You have the SEC, who have 4 teams in. The Big 12, 3 teams in. The Big East has 2 teams left. And the ACC has 1 team left, which is the overall number 1 Duke. And it's been a great, great tournament. I almost thought I was out of there. And let's go to the March Madness Challenge, the squad. You got Yinzer Mama, who is, she has 50 points, and she chose Michigan for her team to win it all. You have Drake, who has 49 points. He chose Purdue. You have Icewater, who chose the University of Houston. He has 48 points, and I'm tied with him at 48. I chose St. John's. I'll tell you why in a few. You have Dredd, who chose Michigan. He is at 47. He is at number 5 in the rankings. You have Windhawk hanging in there at number 6. He chose Houston. And Dredd, of course, from Michigan, chose Michigan to win it all. You have Southside Al, who texted me after the first set of games and said, hey, man, I'm already out. He's at number 7. He chose Duke. Hang in there, man. Duke, who knows? I'm not rooting for him against my St. John Red Storm, but anyway. Baller is at number 8. He chose Arizona. And Pop chose Arizona. He's in last place right now, and he has 39 points. It's been kind of fluctuating with us going back and forth and all that. And a lot of people made some great picks, and there have been some surprises. What were some of the surprises that you saw coming out of this first and second round, man?
Well, I was going to jump on that Big Ten thing, but I think for me right now, one of the biggest surprises was the factor that Florida, was a favorite to perhaps win it all, and definitely to win the South, got upset in the second round by Iowa. I don't think a lot of people saw that. A lot of people selected Florida because they won it last year, had them in the Final Four and everything too. So we saw a lot of brackets get popped from that standpoint. So you got to give it to Iowa, though. Again, one of the six, think about that, 6 Big Ten teams out of 16. I mean,
I
wow.
think there were 10 selected and 6 are still standing. So yeah, a lot of people. I think Winhawk was saying, "Hey, it's unfair to have that many teams in the tournament," but to come out of the first 2 rounds and still be standing with 6 teams says something about that conference. I was surprised that Virginia lost against Tennessee. I thought Miami of Ohio would have gotten a little bit. I was thinking they were going to win one more game. I did not trust Kentucky against Iowa State. Iowa State held true to that. Alabama, I thought they would get taken out by Texas Tech. JT Toppin, I was thinking about you the whole game, brother. I was thinking about you the whole game. Kansas almost took out my team yesterday. I was on the edge of my seat watching that, but I was listening to Coach Patino, I'm sorry, his post game interview, and everybody was trying to figure out why they call the point guard bells, and he says he got balls as big as church bells, and he showed it going right, where he's a lefty going right and hitting that last second shot. The officiating has been atrocious in the tournament, and I was really surprised about this. I thought you got the best of the best. There were a lot of no calls. They're being very loose on traveling and High Point. Sorry, I'm glad you guys won a game, but that dude traveled to get his first 2 points. In the Kentucky game against Santa Clara, I thought there was a travel on the steal, and also not giving that coach a timeout after his team hit the 3-pointer. I thought that was it derailed Santa Clara. Santa Clara should have won that game. You know, I don't know what they will do with the officials, whether they'll have a meeting or anything, but it was really obvious in last night's game with St. John's and Kansas the fouling. Kansas was getting all the calls, and St. John's, I mean, they were getting murdered going down the lane and weren't getting any calls. I know Windhawk had something to say about that. Me and him were chatting and saying that on the group chat that you got to be consistent with these calls, but there's some very, very bad calls with the referees in this tournament.
Yeah, it's wide open. I mean, you can depend on what team you're rooting for and whatever game you're watching. You might see some calls that you
You
don't
gonna
like.
do me like that?
I'm just saying, it's true. I mean, it's like that throughout a lot of stuff. A lot of teams are looking at that, but it's hard to kind of gauge when there's no consistency a lot of times for the refs. A couple things. Got to give kudos to Tennessee. Tennessee is been up and down, but they're a very physical team, and they've been able to use that to get through to the Sweet 16. And kudos to them and their coach Rick Barnes for doing that. But another team that I'm like, wow, blown away by is Texas, right? Yeah, that same Texas that started out in the first four in Dayton, Ohio, as one of their guards pointed out, and he said, "We just rolling through, man." And say what you love him or hate him or whatever. But you got to give Sean Miller some love, bruh. Sweet 16.
Yeah.
Sweet 16 with a team everybody thought was not going to be that great this year. And there's Texas in the Sweet 16. Kudos to Sean Miller for getting those guys through. The other thing, a couple of things we want to look at too is early on, Windhawk and I had this discussion because he loves teams that score a lot of points, shoot threes. I love the three too, don't get me wrong. But when you're a team and you may not be a major, right? You might be a mid-major or whatever. And some of those teams in the first round, they was shooting all these threes and scoring all these points. And Winhawk was like, "Oh, they're gonna go through." I said it's about to get tough in that second round. And it fell the way. When you think about it from the standpoint, Miami of Ohio was
Yeah.
shooting all these jumpers, shot 40 jumpers in the 43 pointers in the game that they won, right? In the first four. In the game they got eliminated, they were 7 of 29 from the three-point line. Yeah, and from the standpoint, look at High Point, who came in and shot a lot of jumpers too. They were 10 of 38 from three-point land. Okay. So defense is being played. And Utah State shot a lot of threes early on, was 8 of 32 from three-point land. So the teams that eliminated them was really like getting into that defensive mode. And it's not to say that these are bad teams, but you got to give kudos to the teams that they faced. And just think about it from the standpoint, I think it was High Point. I think when the young guy scored a lot of points, the little dude,
Yeah.
when they played Arkansas, when they were right there. So he scores all these points and scored a major bucket near the end of the game to put them right where they needed to be. But then you come back down on the court and you give up the game winning three. I mean, you got to play both hands. And it's not to say he wasn't a good dude, but I'm wondering from a coaching standpoint, Arkansas guy
Yeah.
just pulled from three, like game's over.
They talking about Rob Martin
Yeah.
from High Point. And what I noticed teams were doing, and did it with Santa Barbara too, Kentucky did, which I gotta give them credit for, is that the Santa Barbara's point guard, who is a three-point shooter and one of the highest scores, they started putting big men out there so they can't shoot over them. You gotta get, and I kept saying, go past them, go past them. You're not gonna be able to get those three-point shots off. And so what you notice teams are doing, once a guy even thinking about getting hot on that three-point line, they put a bigger dude on him. So they got to shoot over him. The trajectory of the shot is a little off when they're trying to shoot over him. So I did see teams doing that with those teams who like to shoot three-pointers and like to and High Point is one of those teams that score a lot of points. High Point, Utah State, Miami of Ohio, they score a lot of points and they use the three a lot. And in their playing game, Miami of Ohio, I mean, they were just banging them for three. And I guess, the opposing teams for the next game, like, we can't let them do that or we're going to be sitting home watching them. All right, you got the final or the Sweet 16 coming up, and you got Purdue and Texas. I don't know. I like Purdue. I know that Drake had picked Purdue to win it all. I don't know. I can't go with them on that. I think that they're going to run into some problems. Texas ain't got nothing to lose. But if they get past this round, they got to play some tougher teams coming down the road. I can't see Purdue getting past that. Nebraska's showing up and being the Nebraska we've seen all year. That's going to be a tough game, Nebraska and Iowa. Illinois and Houston. Me and you were talking offline against Illinois and Houston. I think Illinois could get Houston. I really think they can get them. I really think they can get them. This is not the Houston team of last year. Arkansas and Arizona. That's going to be an interesting matchup because the point guard in Arkansas, they're saying that he is just as good as Rose and all those point guards that Calipari has in the NBA right now. That's going to be a tough game. I'm going with my St. John's guys against Duke. I think them grown men, and I picked St. John's because they just got grown-ass men on that team. And so they play tough, they play hard, and they weren't getting the calls yesterday. I think that St. John's ran away with that game yesterday. They try to make it close to give Bill Self a chance to get into the Sweet 16 again. That didn't happen. Michigan, they have some hurt players. They're limping in. But I thought Alabama losing their guy early on in the tournament, he's not able to play. I thought they would be out. I thought Texas Tech would get them. And Michigan State, their point guard Fears talking about Michigan State is point guard university. You're going to have to prove that against UConn. You're really going to have to prove that against UConn. And you got Iowa State and Tennessee. Tennessee is going to try to be really physical with Iowa State. We'll see if Iowa State is up for the challenge. Which games are intriguing to you? I know the Houston game is intriguing to you. Go ahead and get me. Go ahead and get me. I know you're coming after me. Come on.
No, I just from the standpoint of Houston versus Illinois, the standpoint of Illinois is very talented. Wagner is very talented. You have a bunch of quality European players, international players that everybody's excited about, and they play really good basketball. You watch them, but if you watch in the Big Ten, there's sometimes they kind of, not say they sloughed off, but they disappeared a little bit. And Houston is tenacious if nothing else. Plus, two, let's keep it 100. Houston is 2.5 miles away from their arena
Yeah.
on campus. So it's a home game. So a home game, they win this one's another home game. And they did that on purpose so they could be comfortable. So it's going to take a special effort for Illinois to do that. Not saying they can't. It's a lot when you put it on the line from that standpoint. Other games, Arizona, Arkansas. Arkansas is playing crazy, but Arizona's been playing great all year. They're bigger than most, and they come out. It's going to be a hell of a game. I want to say I'm leaning towards Arizona because they have been there before, but Arkansas has nothing to lose. And if they come out the way that they did, especially with the point guard play, they might be able to get by. That's a great matchup. Michigan State, UConn. We're going to find out what Fears is really all about. Because UConn, they don't care about that Jack Tripper stuff and all the other, whatever them 9 personalities allegedly he has and everything too. UConn, they have some grown men too. And they don't care. UConn, you can keep that act somewhere else.
Reed Jr. is the truth. He is the truth.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the guards too. I
Yeah.
mean, so they have a squad. UConn has a squad, they're legit, and they play hard for their coach. So it's gonna take a hell of an effort for Michigan State to overcome that. Michigan, Alabama, you mentioned before about one of the Alabama players being hurt. I think the size of
No, I think
Michigan
it was a violation. I don't know if he was hurt. I think there was a
violation. Okay,
Yeah,
but if he's back, if Alabama's back, the only issue for Alabama is the size of Michigan. They're huge. They're a player of the year candidate at that size. Not too many people can check him. He's a matchup problem and the big center in the middle, Mara. The player of the year is like 6'9" there, begins with a Y. I can't think of his name on top of my head. He's a major matchup problem for Alabama. Also, Mara, the big center that transferred in from UCLA. They come strong and hard. And Alabama plays hard. They get up and down. They want to increase their pace. But the question is, will they be able to deal with that size?
one,
It might be 101 to 96 or something like that.
one of the thing about Michigan, they were very deep, and then they started running into injury problems, and it's because they could have a starting five, and then they could bring 5 off the bench, and that was like a starting 5 too. I don't know if they have that
Mhm.
bench now than they had when they were blowing out teams by 30. So that's one of the reasons why I didn't select Michigan. Michigan was going to be the team that I selected to win it all, but I'm like, they're rolling with too many injuries and they can't do the things they did at the beginning of the season. They were blowing teams up by an average of 30 points a game. And so you could see as the year went on, they started to wear down a little bit. Injuries started to take over. I don't know if they were able to do this. And these games, these games are they're playing full blast. They're not holding anything back. And to go through this grueling game, you got 4 games to win if you want to win a national championship. I don't know if they have the bench that can do that now and the energy to do that now. Your thoughts on that, man?
No, I can see that. I think that's why I say it's kind of more of a toss up. But I still think the size goes a long way because if Alabama has to hit their shots. If they hit their shots and they're moving, they're running up and down and score as many points as they can play with anybody in the country. But the question is, what happens if you're not getting the rebounds, if you're frustrated, things are not going your way? That's where Michigan's size, that advantage can go a long way. And if they can keep it to a point where they like it, where you are using your size and your physicality versus Alabama, it can be a problem. But do not get it twisted. Alabama was more than capable of winning that game. I think that's going to be one hell of a matchup. But the last thing I'm going to talk about is that last matchup that you so dearly love.
I know you got a
Saints
lot
are,
of New York hate in you. And
oh my God. Oh
I
my,
shouldn't say hate. That's a strong word.
hate. I don't hate. I'm just looking at
Bias.
what's
New
real.
York bias. That's the
But I think you might have the bias because
no,
you're
no,
so
no,
in
no,
tune.
no, no.
You,
I think Duke's a good team. I just don't believe that they can win it all. I really don't.
I mean, and I'm
I see
good
too
with
many
that.
flaws in them.
I agree with that 100%. But I think you got enough to beat St. John's, and I'm gonna tell you why. St. John's, they have the former the guy that's the player of the year in the conference that was a transfer from Duke. They have a lot of gritty players. And it's almost like Patino grabbed all these hungry dudes from the park, put them all together, and they play hard and they play mean and they come at you and they're very physical. Doesn't mean they're not talented. But Duke, on the other hand, has the Flyboys, which you call 4 stars, 5 stars, and they come together collectively. And you say, okay, yeah, St. John's is gritty. They're going to be hardcore. They're going to be more physical. They're going to push them around. But Duke has some athletes. And the question is, with St. John's, that I think as a team collectively, they're going to have to play real well because Duke goes 8, 9 deep and when you think one guy's off, they got another guy, and I'm just gonna keep it 100 with y'all. Y'all know that older Boozer boy gonna get them calls. So you know they love Boozer.
See,
Boozer,
you
I'm
setting
just
up a
saying, I'm just keeping it
scenario,
100.
man.
You know Boozer probably done fouled out of 3 games already.
They won't call no calls on.
No, because when you watch the game, I'm just being honest. Watch the game. He gonna come over the back. He always reaching. And 3 calls, they don't call on him. So he already up 3, right? So it's going to be gritty, physical basketball, and Coach Patino versus the Flyboys.
So,
The
so you
Flyboys,
setting up like in football, the Miami Hurricanes and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, the Catholics versus the convicts kind of scenario with this particular game.
I mean, it's true because Duke has the Flyboys. They got 4 and 5 stars, right? They slapping 5. Got the guy was the Seru, whatever, from France. They got everything. They got all these dudes coming from all walks of life. Everybody pretty, everybody high level, whatever. They got shooters. They got guys coming from all levels. Then you got the other Boozer that's playing now, right? You got the younger Boozer. It's about minutes, but they have like an all-star squad versus
Yeah.
hardcore runs. I mean, that's what it is. It's a
Yeah,
matchup.
I think St. John's needs. I mean, they really need to press the younger bruiser. I mean, really
Yeah.
put that press because they love the press and they love that defense that generates their offense. And I don't know if the younger boozer or the point guard boozer can handle that. So we'll see. And if those big guys try to bring the ball down the court, we're going to see whether you not you got handles.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing, if St. John's hitting their shots and they can control tempo
Yeah.
and keep it in a nasty enclosed game, I think they right there, and anything happen kind of like what they did against Kansas. Kansas wasn't in their shots,
No.
and they only had like two options: Dickinson and the other guard, the point guard that could really score. Duke, on the other hand, has a bunch of stuff going on. But the other thing too is, can this is where Coach Pitino comes in to play, because can he keep his guys tuned in to what he's doing in the same effort? And they got to start knocking people around. They got to be dog tough, but also realize you can't be over aggressive, because I think the refs will call those fouls, and he gonna blow a gasket and probably be out the damn game, because you just gotta keep. If you are out of control, your guys could be out of control, and if you're out of control and not thinking right, Duke will blow you out. Patino was in one of the referees' ears the whole game. Should have got teed up about 3 times. You can't do that versus Duke, because they were like, "What you want us to do?"
Why can't you do it? You earned it. Patino's back.
Okay,
Man.
well you
Patino's back.
can do it. Are you gonna get it? Are you gonna get it against Duke? We gonna find
I
out.
don't know. We'll see. We'll see. That's an interesting game. I want to see Fears. Fears is a really true talent. I want to see how he goes up against UConn. Iowa State and Tennessee. That's going to be an interesting game. But I'm going to stick close to that Thursday night game. It's going to be here, I think, at about 8 o'clock Central Time here, Illinois and Houston. I know all of Illinois is going to be watching it. I'm going to be watching it. And like I said, I don't think when Sampson puts the gas pedal down, Houston's going to be able to go. I really don't think, and I've seen it with Houston all year long. It would be a really surprise if they knock out 2 of the number 1 seeds in this particular round in the Sweet 16, because I can see it happening. I can really see 2 of these number 1 seeds going down in this particular round.
Well, so you said Houston?
I think Houston's not, they're number 2, but I can see
Yeah.
2 of the number 1 seeds, because we already have Florida, they're down. And now I see you got 3 number 1 seeds. I can see 2 going down this weekend.
Okay, and Houston is the 2, so we ain't talking about Houston, right?
Houston's the 2. They may be going down. I'm gonna be.
They ain't going down. Illinois, because you gotta realize,
There's another reason why I'll go with Illinois, because I knew you were rooting for Kansas last night to put me out. You had a text message ready to put like, and I sent the meme like the Denzel Washington kind of meme, because I was like, come on, y'all can't do this to me. Y'all cannot do this to me. So yeah, man. Yeah, I knew you were rooting for Kansas to win that game. I knew you were rooting for.
Hey, you and Windhawk. All right, look, that's why they play the games.
That's why they
play the game. I love it. And hey, all I know is we don't know.
No.
All you can do is put it out there and stay close and see what happens. Is
I think
Final Four is key.
I think all of us have been in first place in the first 2 rounds because of the way we've been picking. But if you want to see our day-to-day standings, check us out on the Squad Facebook. I post them up right after the day is done. And it's been fun. And I've been talking to some of the folks through chat and in person about it, and everybody's excited about it. And Yinza Mama admitted to me she didn't pick her picks. Her daughter Amelia, her talented and beautiful daughter Amelia, picked her picks. So shouts out to Amelia and Yinza Mama for coming up with the picks, and she picked Michigan. Who knew?
Okay.
Who knew the young lady can kind of look at stuff and kind of put that stuff together? But that was a great.
Hey, congratulations! It's about to get hot now, though, baby. About to get hot. Congratulations to them, and I hope they do well. But it's about to get hot now, because when you look at it, there's a lot of things moving forward, and we're gonna find out, because now it gets down to the nitty gritty. And back and forth. But at the end of the day, I'll say this, like I said all the time, all the movement parts before, in between, during the early and the midway, it don't matter, because at the end is all that matters. At the end, the final stats.
Yep. Yeah? Yep. Let's go to NFL news. And there have been some signings. Your boy from Ohio State and Kelsey, I want you to talk about some of the things that are happening in the NFL, because your boy in Njigba is the highest paid wide receiver in the league, making 42 million a year, followed by Chase and other folks. And then I thought Kelce was just going to play one more year. He signs for 3 years. So I'm like, whoa! All of a sudden, he was acting like, this is the last leg, this is the last mile, and all of a sudden he's rejuvenated. Your thoughts?
Yeah, no doubt. When you think about Smith and Jigga, the standpoint of what he did or has done the last couple of years, right, is spot on for him to be more or less like a franchise player for Seattle. And you got to think about it. Sometimes you got to invest into someone or a player that you think is going to be around for a long time. And right now, he's shown great potential as long as he stays healthy. And no matter what quarterback they receive, when you got a guy that you think is going to be what they call the bell cow for your franchise, you got to give him the money while you can, because that amount of money that they're investing now is going to seem like pennies down the line. So if you believe in him and you want him and you feel like he's going to stay healthy, you got to go ahead and spend the cash. Which I was happy for him and a little bit surprised, but I was happy for him because they're telling him we believe in you and
You're
we're
our
ready to
guy.
move forward. Yeah,
You're
you're
our
our guy
guy.
for the
Yeah.
long term. So I think that's great. Looking at KC and Kelsey, I think Kelsey thought about it a long time, but they putting the band back together. You got Bieniemy coming back, run the way they want to. You got a solid young running back in Walker the third, just coming off a MVP Super Bowl run. You are making some moves as far as wide receiver is concerned too. You're shoring up the offensive line and the defense. They're trying to get that together too. So, and when you bring back Mahomes whenever he comes back, which people are playing down the Justin Fields pickup, all they need Justin Fields to do is just be serviceable and not mess it up. They're not asking you to win the games. You just need to be serviceable and put the ball in people's hands and run a little bit. But I think they're putting the band back together, which is why Kelsey said, I signed for three. Because I think we got 3 good years to get us a few more. Who knows? At that point, he'll probably walk away. Mahomes might go, what do I need anything else? I don't know. Maybe he's gonna play a long time, but maybe you get one out of those, and maybe one, at least one. What else we playing for? I know from Kelsey's standpoint, what else do they need from that standpoint? So I think he just said, hey, looks good on paper right now. Coach Andy Reid can take a breath because he got his guy back in Bieniemy, right? And you know Bieniemy, he may not be what they want to call quality head coach material, but damn it, he's one hell of a coordinator. So you notice they wasted no time going back to hire him because he can make things happen and he drives players. He's a great players coach. They have nothing but great things to say about him because he uses the player's skill set to make the teams better. And he's a whiz when it comes to that too. So I'm happy for them. I'm excited because I think the league is always better when Kansas City's relevant.
Yeah, I mean that when I saw that 3 years, I'm like, whoa, he must really, because I just knew just okay, one more year and that's it. But no, 3 more years. He must have had some serious talks with Bieniemy, the coaching staff, his teammates, and say, hey man, let's run it, let's run it, and let's see how far we can go with it. Because if I was him, my lady was making millions and millions of dollars. I don't know. I ain't got to take no hits in the football field no more. I could just follow you on the concert tours, baby, and I can live the good life and do my podcast and with my brother and all that other stuff and be famous. But he loves the game of football, and it's obvious he wants to play. So because in the last few years, it's like, does he really want to play? His numbers have gone down. His production has gone down. He hasn't been, the Kelce we've known, but now seems like he's going to rededicate himself and try to give it 3 more good years. Let's talk about the NBA and the WNBA. So the NBA salary cap for 26-27 reportedly is projected at 156 million, which is a $10 million increase. And the WNBA agrees to their collective bargaining agreement. And I'm going to give it to you, but give it back to me on the WNBA because, yeah, they're getting this money, but I don't think the product is going to be any better than it was in the last few years.
I'm not sure, but I think that they came up with an agreement that kind of works for them. Of course, when they came out, we talked earlier about them wanting actually to get revenue off the top, right? Which is the gross. And instead they had to settle for more, which is the net. Basically saying you have to prove yourself that we're going to, then we pay you after we get the bills paid, then we'll give you your net proceeds. But I think the legend Don Staley said it best when she started putting it out there. First, she gave kudos to the WNBA players and the staff that was connected, particularly with the personnel that helped that. She also gave love to the WNBA, the league itself. She explained to her players that you don't understand what's happening right now, that this is going to increase the salaries for you. You're going to make a lot more money as close to as what AJ Wilson is making right now as a rookie. So this is phenomenal. And instead of thinking that, saying that they think that 1 or 2 years or the Caitlin Clarkson will earn this, this is on the backs of a lot of players that came before them. Go back to the American Basketball League, ABL, when they were doing things and it was only 6 teams in the league and they weren't even getting anything near like this. Definitely wasn't no transportation. Now there's housing. Now there's a lot of money involved. You got the TV contract. They're expanding. So Don Staley put out there that, look, I'm happy for everybody involved. And she told her players, one of her players, aren't you glad you stayed 1 more year? Because now you're got to receive monies that are been astronomical. And she's honest about that. But she also talked about the blood, sweat, and tears that was put down before anybody else. And she also said to them, remember where this came from. But most importantly, realize that they need to continue to provide a product, right, on the court that stays relevant. You can't just get as you're gonna. I'm gonna throw it back to you. I know you got some things to say. You can't put a product out there on the court and become complacent because now people gonna say, "Why did they give you this money? Are you worth it? Are you worth the effort?" Because while 1 or 2 years you start to make a little money, or even less, you're losing less money. The whole point comes down to it was like 28 years of a negative, right? So you were not making money for like 28 years. So with that being said, you got to figure out and make sure that this is something that continues to grow. And I always said this, and people say I hate at the end. Don't get too comfortable because realize you have a niche. And your niche is that you play in the spring and the summer. And there's a reason why you don't play with the major sports programs in the fall and the winter. Congratulations again, but I think they got to put work in because you can't struggle and want all this money and you're not, there's no ROI, a major return on investment.
My thing is, congratulations, you got money. You didn't go on strike because I was waiting for you to go on a strike and really kind of really get hit reality. I think you're going to go more in debt. I really do. I think this league's going to go more in debt, and I think it's going to get to the point where they go, you know what, we can't afford you. We can't afford to take this loss every year. Like I said last week, how many businesses do you know that runs a deficit for 28 years stay in business? So I think they really set up a way to get out of this if they want to get out of it. The folks who are providing the money, the organization that's providing the money, the NBA. And if you don't produce, which I don't think you're going to do so, I don't think you're going to do so. If you don't produce and make some money, it's do or die right now. If you don't make the money, they're going to say, you know what, we can no longer afford to do this. We can no longer afford to pay these salaries at a deficit. We can't do it. You're a liability. And so be careful what you ask for. You got it. And so if you don't make the money back, it's not almost like you're getting a record deal. Like all these recording artists who get these big time record deals, that's borrowed money. That's a loan. It's a loan. I look at it as a loan. We're going to loan you this money and we want this money back to make money back. If you don't make that money back, you're going to be on that show. What was that show on VH1? Where are they now? The WNBA will be on that show. Where are they now? Because it's do or die right now. You wanted it, you got more money, but consider it a loan because if you don't make good on that loan, they're going to cut you. They're going to cut you because they're not going to continue to lose money. Congratulations. All right, your last second shot, man.
Yeah, my last second shot is as I'm watching the NCAA tournament on men's and women's side. I watch certain teams play, and I watch some of these coaches and some of these players, these teams, I should say, in both tournaments play real well earlier in the season. They maybe get in the top 10, and you say, oh man, they're gonna make a run this year. Oh, they're gonna be better than what they were last year. And then you say, well, we get through the season and play well, but then they get to the tournament and they fall short. And it's been a thing that's been going up like an ongoing pattern. And you say to yourself, some of them like, oh, we're gonna keep running it back. So you say, is it do they not have enough quality players? Can the coach actually recruit some bigger name players, some higher rated players, or you just keep going through the motions? We have end up some of these players say, I'm tired of losing and we can't advance, so they transfer right to another team. So you have to ask yourself, do you stay status quo or do you move on so you can make a change? And a couple quick examples, we'll see how it plays out, but something to think about. When is the right time to pull the plug, or do you stick with what you're doing? Perfect example, Hubert Davis at North Carolina. Possible could be a change there. They fell short earlier in the tournament. They're discussing possibly making a change. And head coach Miller at Cincinnati was there for 5 years. He never made the tournament, men's tournament. And now while he was released and let go, he picks up another job in Charlotte, which is dynamite for Charlotte because he's a basketball mind, somebody they really would love to have. And he's going to bring a lot of integrity and a lot of strength and a lot of quality wins there because they're not used to having that type of talent there. And last but not least, when you flow over to the women's side, I look at Ohio State University. They had Cody McMahon was their major player for years out of Dayton, and I think she's got frustrated with losing. Now she went to Ole Miss, and they got bounced too a little bit earlier in the tournament. But she was like, I just can't go on. I'm just keep losing. She felt like they were never progressing. So Ohio State moved on, got Cambridge, Jelani Cambridge got some other things going on, and they looked like they were a top 10 team. Had an opportunity to move forward in the tournament. They have faced Notre Dame at home. Lose by 10. How long are we waiting? I'm not really criticizing it, but I'm just curious to say, if you want to improve, when is long enough to wait to make a move? There's adjustments have to be made, is all I'm saying. If expectations are that high, adjustments have to be made.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback with my last second shot about Hubert Davis, coach of the North Carolina Tar Heels basketball program. And earlier this year, I said I'm not pushing for him to be fired. It may be time. People are talking, and this is his second year in a row getting bounced out in the first round. Here's what I said earlier this year, and I'll stand on it. I think he needs to hire, or they need to put coaches in place around him to help him make adjustments during the game. If they cannot find those coaches that are willing to do that or who can not do that, then it's probably him. You need to make the change with him, because what we've seen in the last 2 years, after the championship year that he went in and took North Carolina to the championship, it's a failure. And even his players will tell you that it's a failure to make adjustments, game time adjustments. And that can't keep happening. And that has been an Achilles heel of his whole basketball career. And it just can't keep happening. So if he can't find somebody on the bench or somebody on that coaching staff that can help him do that, then it's probably time for him to let it go and bring somebody in. They've been talking about Jay Wright, the former basketball coach of Villanova. And they're talking about going outside the family, North Carolina family, to do that. Usually in North Carolina, they like to keep it within the family, the coaching staff, but this may be a time where you bring in new blood and put that program where it should be. Your thoughts on that, man?
Ooh, that's a tough one because you like to stay with what you're comfortable with. But somebody really understands the North Carolina program. I still think there's enough people connected in one way or other, or that could still be there. But if you want to win, there's a lot of people that can buy in, right? You don't have to always be directly from North Carolina, but somebody, if they can get Jay Wright,
That would be a monster pickup.
It would be because Jay Wright, not only can he recruit, but he would have the way that he allows his players, the system that he plays in basketball, the way they go about it, people would love him down there. So the question is whether or not he will come back. He's been living that plush life, living real, living La Vida Loca. And the question is, you want that headache again? North Carolina is a major program. They have a bunch of dollars to throw at you, but that wear and tear when you've been chilling and relaxing and you already got your title, you want to come back out and get another one? Sometimes some people go, yeah, and other times they go, nah, I'm good. I'm gonna stay right where I'm at. So I'm gonna be intrigued, but to see by whether or not he will come back, and if he doesn't, who's next?
Two more things I want to say. My last shot. Get rid of Bruce Pearl. Get him off TV. Please get him off TV. Politicking for Auburn. They had no business even thinking about getting in the tournament and then trying to push his son after all the scandals he's been a part of. No, get him off TV. And can we put a RIP on those Capital One commercials with Samuel Jackson, Spike Lee, Magic Johnson, and Barkley? Please, please. They even got Hammer on TV. Y'all need to give us some more entertaining commercials, please. Let's put a halt. Let's put a halt to that. We had enough. We've had enough. Okay, that's our show. We'll be back next week. I'm sorry.
Out of you got dunked on.
No.